Hi, I'm Choco, and this is going to be an overview and general guide for XChika, pulling her, using her, and what you can expect with her. And I'm going to go over some videos with you to show you how she works and also what you can expect in terms of when to build her and what to do afterwards. So first of all, she's probably the most interesting character we've gotten so far because she's the centerpiece of a lot of the most degenerate timelines we're going to see. Mid-year 2, starting with Glutton CB. There's going to be some XChika loops where time stands still and you just use UBs over and over and over again until the boss is either dead or you've dealt so much damage it's kind of unimaginable. So the big example is during CP19, the first time CN used her, they managed to do 13 million and one clan managed to do 15 million damage to the C5, which is just absolute bonkers compared to what we're struggling with right now, where we can barely do 1.5, 1.7 million to those bosses consistently. So why is she so bricky? Why are her builds so specific? So the way she works is that every time the boss kills a unit and summons count into that, again, some amount of TP. And if the boss's TP boost is high enough, they can charge their TP to 1000 just by killing XChika's 3 summons from her UB. That means they immediately use UB and deal damage back to XChika. And if XChika has enough TP boost, say from Nanaka's TP boost field and from 6-star Kokoro's UB, she can go right back up to full and use her UB again. And if at that point the summons get wiped again, then we have entered a loop where the boss UBs charges XChika UB, she UBs, boss UBs, she UBs, and so on and so forth. So as long as you have another healer to keep everyone healthy and have some form of damage dealer to actually kill off the boss, you can get into a loop where you just deal insane amounts of damage and perhaps or most likely one punch the boss. So for that to happen, XChika does need to take an exact amount of damage, which a lot of the time means going almost to 0 HP. So her effective HP against the specific damage type the boss does needs to be exactly as much as the boss does. So that's kind of the reasoning behind it. And that's not even all that goes into it, because that kind of supposes that the timing of the first UB doesn't matter, and when you start the loop doesn't matter, but it does. So that's another thing where, for example, rank 11, this one, I'm going to go on precalc and show you. So rank 11, the well-known glass XChika, which has the highest TP boost with TP retain. So yeah, that's 11 TP boost and 24 TP retain. So she's going to get UB rather quickly, comparatively at least, but she's also kind of squishy, but perhaps not squishy enough, because if you need a UB that's faster than what this XChika can provide, then the only chance is to have, okay, there's some incoming damage and we can say go down to rank 7. And she only has 10 TP boost and no TP retain, so you're going to need all of TP stat buffs to actually get her to loop. But that's kind of one of the things where, yeah, okay, sometimes this is necessary to get the UB out fast enough. More than likely, it's going to be something with rank 9, I think. Let me just make sure, yeah, rank 9. So like this, where she has 15 TP retain, 5 TP boost. So yeah, basically things get complicated very quickly when you're building a timeline for XChika. And that's kind of the reason for all the issues that are with building her for timelines, because the versions I'm shown here, for example, rank 9 Chika, her loops come after the ones that, for example, require this rank 12 Chika. So that's kind of an issue there. You can't go down. So if you build your XChika to rank 12 and say you've leveled her up to level 90 and her UB is at level 30, then if you need her at rank 7, that's not possible. Rank 11, not possible either. Rank 12 with level 1 UB and with level 84, that's not possible either. So at that point, if you need another XChika, the only chance is to borrow. And so that's also what most clans are going to do. They are going to build one XChika for each timeline in the specific version she needs, and everyone is going to borrow her. That's not always going to be the case, because sometimes you have other requirements for other units. So you're going to say, okay, we have to have more people go up with their XChika so that we can actually run the timeline. But still, XChika does need to be built. And after that point, all of those XChikas won't be able to be used for timelines that require some different build that she can't go down to. And that's also where her value as a non-build unit comes from, because as time goes on, XChika is going to get built from time to time. Every loop, more XChikas are going to get built. And once another loop comes out where another XChika is required and people need to build her, suddenly all the unbuilt XChikas are going to be pretty valuable. And once it goes on, if you build, say, you build an XChika for CB19, build 2 for CB20, and CB22, you build another one, and maybe CB24, I don't know if there's a loop there, but you build another one there, and so on and so forth. Then by the time CB30 runs around, perhaps you've already starting to notice XChikas are getting low. We don't have that many unbuilt ones in our clan. And so that's where, as an individual player, your value goes up if yours is unbuilt, because you can say, hey, I've got my unbuilt XChika here. And if a clan is looking to push for rank for this one CB and they want to be super sweaty and they want to have this one XChika loop that needs a very specific one, I'm going to come in and we can build mine and we can have a great old time. So that's kind of where the idea or the value for XChika for an individual player comes from when it comes to the loops. So do you pull her or not? I think that's just a question of whether you can afford to right now. If you think of the typical must pulls for CB, there's going to be New Year Yui, Vishizu, and Muimi. About Muimi, I wouldn't worry too much. If you do have to spark her, due to the free pulls, there shouldn't be an issue for most players, because there's some time between Vishizu and her, so hopefully you can build up enough gems to do it. But as long as you can get Vishizu, things are looking up. So if you can guarantee those three, I think it's a good idea to pull for her, because if you get her now, you won't have to pull her on rerun, and on the rerun banner there's going to be 2 units, so XChika and one other, meaning half the chance to pull her, so you can expect to do more rolls. So yeah, that's kind of the reasoning for whether to pull her or not. I think most competitive CB players, unless they've had some really bad luck on the previous banners and are kind of running low on gems, they probably are going to pull her, because it's better to have her, and especially an insurance that if you are going to lack a key unit, or you won't be able to pull one up, or you brick one on accident, you can just say, okay, let's pull out my XChika for the next CB, we're going to build mine, and I'm going to run her and borrow someone else. So that's kind of a very good thing to have for yourself in those cases. She's going to be built at that point, but that's also not the end of the world, because most likely if she's one of the ranks 11 or rank 12, there's a good chance you can use her again. It's honestly kind of overstated earlier. So she's a good asset, and yeah. So for now, let's get into some of the use cases for her. I've prepared some videos, and if you want to troll through some of the other stuff in my anti-brick guide, I've also had some more XChika videos for you to look at. But yeah, so I'm going to ignore the regular XChika use for CB11, for example, where there's two rather prominent timelines where you can kind of build her up and use her there, but I don't really think that's worth it, or at least we're still researching whether it's worth it, because there's a good chance those actually wouldn't be able to be used on any other timeline, so that's kind of iffy, but perhaps it turns out that she's actually quite usable later, then maybe things change, but for now I'm going to go into the loops. And if you notice here, this video, this isn't really a loop, and this isn't all that far away. This is CB14, Minotaur, the second time around. But if you look, the XChika is actually a 5-star here, and there's no TP boost from other units either. Like there's no Nenika, there's no 5-star, 6-star Kokoro. So what's going on here? This is kind of an example of what I call a pseudo loop, where XChika is gonna use her UB, the boss is gonna kill her spirits, and it's gonna UB more often than not. So it's kind of a middle ground between an actual loop and a TP battery for the boss. So what you get here is just you use XChika to accelerate boss UBs and get a couple more out than usually, and it's kind of one of the interesting timelines because it's, I think, a good introduction to how loops work. You can see here, XChika uses UB, the damage dealers use UB, and Misato is going to heal everyone back up. And now it's just a matter of time until the boss kills all the spirits, and then the whole thing starts over again. So there goes the UB again, and we go again. So if this was a loop, this would be very strong because you'd have this, but more than once per second. So yeah, let's move away from this one now because this is going to go on for a little bit longer, but I think you get the point here. Moving to the next one. This is the first actual XChika loop. This is from CN. It's not the best timeline. It's just a timeline, but I think it illustrates the point. So here we're using 6-star Kokoro and Nenika to provide their TP boost buffs that allow XChika to actually loop. So here the boss UB comes out, XChika uses hers. Now Esmaho as the DPS of choice. And we're gonna wait for Nenika UB. Always mess up the names there. As Kokoro 6-star, gonna heal everyone up. Boss smash, and now we are going to get into the loop. So here we're gonna see damage from the DPS. Still waiting. Nenika UB. And I think now the setup is right. Kokoro 6-star uses her UB. Now we're at full TP buff. And after this one, once this UB starts, now the loop starts. Nenika UB, heal up, XChika UB, slight TP regen, let's Esmaho UB, and once the animation is over for the last UB, the boss is going to UB again, and we can fire off on next cycle. So this is kind of the first example. The video quality, I apologize here, it's not all that good, but if you notice, 3-star Misato, 4-star Nenika at the optimum. There's other timelines that use 5-star Misato or 3-star Nenika, so, but still, this is rather tight and it's quite difficult to use, and the one timeline that did 15 million is also so difficult that they only managed to actually reach that on the last day of CB. So yeah, this is a good introduction kind of, because it's already very specific and very difficult to pull off. Like, this is a very specific R12 Chika, which sadly wasn't able to be used on the next one. And so this one is from CB20. This is the C4 of that time. If you look at here, there's a Mookie. She's just tanking the boss throw and also interrupting it, and the UB spam goes on right away. So there's just very little time, just immediate setup, and right away we're going to loop, and he's even going to use 4x speed to speed things up here. The whole video is just 5 minutes long, but it's still going to be a one punch, and it's going to be with a good chunk of overflow. So if you look here, the SEO and XChika are built so specifically that they go down to almost 0 HP every time, so that they can loop properly, because otherwise they wouldn't be able to reach full TP again. Or they would be able to reach full TP, but this is another aspect of building XChika, because you don't need to make her more tanky than she needs to be to survive. So in this case, it's just build her just enough so that she can survive, and increases the chances of her being able to run a different loop. So this is probably one of the best ones, because building XChika for this one with the R12, I don't think it locks you out of any of the other rank 12 timelines. So I really like this one, not just because you can run stuff like Tsumugi and Suzume, and I think another couple kind of dumb units that are not used otherwise. So pretty cool loop overall, and I think it illustrates, yeah, this is pretty good. However, the rank 12 Chika from Gotten wouldn't work with this one, so you need a different R12 Chika for this one. So let's get into the other one. This is also from CB20, and which is kind of funny because there's 2 loops in one CB. And if you've played against Scorpio the last time, you already know this guy does tons of damage. So for this loop, XChika actually does need to be a little bit more tanky than for the other one, actually to the point where you can't use one for the other. So you do need 2 different XChikas built for this loop. And also we're using Enui here. I'm not sure if this is the version where S1 is high or low on her, but Nuyui comes into play as someone who can make, through having a high S1 to reduce the boss attack, actually let XChika be a lower level than she otherwise would have to be. And yeah, this one kind of interesting, or rather kind of a prime use of rank 12, because the first UB isn't all that critical, because the boss also has to ramp up first. So it's gonna have to use UB a couple times before it actually reaches max damage and you do get into the full real loop. So yeah, now you see damage is going up. XChika is almost dying with every UB, and now we really get into the spam. And I'm gonna skip ahead a little bit here, because yeah, we're in the middle of the loop. There's 33 seconds left, 13 million HP on the boss left. Let's see how low it's going to go. $8.4 million at around 28 seconds. So we went 5 seconds further into the fight in about, no, a good 2 minutes. Let's go 2 minutes further. Now we are at 24 seconds, so we skipped another 5 seconds ahead in those couple minutes. Still going, but the boss is relatively low now. 38 million, or 3.8 million, I mean. And no, that was a nice chunk from 3.8 to 3.0 million. Going a bit further, 2.07. And I think we're going to see the end now. Yeah, just a couple 100,000 now. Boss UB, Kokoro UB. Nenika UB. And I think now the time NUB is gonna kill. Yep. Let's kill with 20 seconds left. I think that's decent overtime for this kind of setup. I'm not sure if it's the... Yeah, I think this is with 40 seconds overtime. But the run was a little bit low, so only 40 seconds. So these are the loops that we already have seen in CN. So from now on, because the next loops are not on CN anymore, we're going to look at one from Korea, where they did another one. And this is kind of the typical thing for XChika, where before we used 3 different XChika at rank 12. Next loop doing CB22. Oops, we need a rank 9 XChika. But luckily for this one, I'm not sure if 5-star Nenika is necessary. I think 3-star can also be made to work because the damage that's incoming is rather low. But I think 5-star is just more damage, more overtime. But yeah, everything else is relatively standard at this point, as SEO can be ranked up to 4 or start up to 4, and 4-star is also pretty common. So let's have a little look-see here. This guy, I think many already know him because this loop is rather well known, I think, for one of the ones where you don't have much incoming damage and XChika has to be rank 9 for it to work. So yeah, it's all rather typical. I'm just gonna jump ahead. Here, 47 seconds, we're already in the loop, and it's just gonna be very standard stuff. XChika goes almost to 0, and she's also rather low level for this, but everyone else doesn't take as much damage, as you can see, so it takes quite a few loops for the others to actually TP charge up. And I'm gonna jump ahead almost to the end here. If you look, 9 seconds left and still 1.18 million. So because XChika needs to loop with the boss UB a couple times before the other UBs come online again, this one actually is quite tight, and with some bad luck I can imagine that this might actually be there might be a chance that this loop doesn't actually one punch. But let's go to the end here. 6 seconds, 5 seconds, and at 5 seconds now Anne has UB again and she can just kill. Whoop, what was that? Missed it. That's unfortunate. I think SU is going to be the kill. Oh, there we go. So this is to illustrate, this was kind of a, also the frame rate drops is kind of insane at the end. But yeah, this is just to show, yeah, you're going to need a really low level, really low rank XChika sometimes when it's kind of a weird fight like this where the incoming damage isn't enough to charge up the higher rank XChikas. However, if you're worrying about, hey, what am I going to do after mine is built? So, yeah, if she's built, hey, I heard mine can't be used again. She had to go to rank 12 and some equip, and she also had to be rather high level. And it seems like she won't be able to be used on other bosses anymore. What can I do? So this is kind of the retirement home for already built Chikas. So once New Year Kyaru comes out, things kind of change. As you see, it's got these blue stars here. That means it's the star down feature, so it is a little bit further into the future. And this is kind of the prime time where we've got 6-star Maho and XChika kind of TP battering the New Year Yui alongside Nenika. Nenika is just TP support overall, and Shred, and also Kasumi with Yui also adding just Shred. And what XChika is used in this one for isn't really to loop the boss UB. In this case, she's actually being used for her real purpose, which is to TP charge, to heal, just kind of in a more conventional manner. She's still going to speed up the boss UB cycle, but she won't actually be fully looping. But since we have access to a much more powerful character in Nuya Kyaru, it's going to be a lot different, because you don't actually need to loop XChika to take advantage of all her buffs and stuff and to get a one punch. So in this case, it's just charging up Nuya Kyaru, making her UB often and charging it up quickly so that she can actually get her full damage potential. And yeah, this is kind of the kind of thing you can expect after kind of the most XChika loops are kind of over, because Cygames also noticed, hey, these loops aren't really what the game is about. Let's kind of limit it. So they changed the boss TP boost for most of them to the point where they won't be able to loop off XChika, because they do need a rather high TP boost to actually work. And there's ways around that, and some are still loopable, but for the most part, it's not something that's as common afterwards as before. And at that point, you can rest easy and know, hey, my XChika is still going to be useful in something like this, where sometimes actually you can still keep her low. But for this one, I think she's just max level to provide the highest amount of TP with her skill 2 and also healing. But I think the healing doesn't really matter here. In any case, I think this is a good example of how she can be used, because let's skip ahead a little bit more. Yeah, it's gonna look like around 10 million damage or 990 W. Let's take a look. 990. So yeah, good round from Butts here. Korean streamer who also plays global. But yeah, so this is just I think, or I hope I've kind of illustrated what kind of stuff she can be used for and what happens after the most prominent XChika loops stop, and also the kind of the issues for why you want blank XChikas to build up after, because just the regular class XChika that's known best wouldn't be always usable, and also sometimes not enough. Like sometimes you need these rank 13 or even fully geared rank 13 or rank 14 XChikas, or you need 4-star XChika to kind of get the right amount of EHP. And that's one thing that I can't really get into here too deeply, because once you start to try to make actual timelines, things get very complicated, and it's to the point where even I'm not at the point where I myself think I can make a proper timeline where I can say confidently this is an optimal timeline, because there's some intricacies about all the stats involved that are so completely different from how the game works right now that I think we're going to need to take some time, that once we reach the point around CB19 where we're looking at the first loops, that we're actually going to have, okay, let's put our heads together, all the timeliners, and kind of figure out how we're going to do XChika loops, maybe consult some people from other servers. I know some of the CNN, Taiwan and Korea guys, and also some Japan people are quite helpful in that regard, so that we can just kind of learn how all of that works, how all the interactions work, how the UB sequences are going to work, and just how we're going to build her to take optimal advantage of one particular loop, or also how maybe we can lower her level to a point where she's usable on other loops in the future. So let's finish this off with a kind of recent example. This is a nice 45 million from current Japan, or at least relatively recent Japan. It's an New Year Kyaru setup, pretty box standard if you look at it, because all these units like 6-star Kokoro, Nenika, New Year Kyaru, XChika, 6-star Maho, all of those we've seen before. So the funny thing is, not that much has changed after all, except that this is phase 5 and the damage is very different and the use is also very different. So I think it's just rather cool to see, even into the far future, she's going to be usable, and there's worth in keeping yours at a usable state, so that if you find one further out, that you can still build her up to spec, so that she can be used once again, and we can kind of relive the glory days of when she would have time stand still and one punch a boss without breaking a sweat. At least she herself, probably, because whoever has to play that timeline is definitely gonna be quite exhausted after the end. So yeah, I hope you've gotten a little bit of a better idea of XChika and why people are hyped for her, and perhaps what building her means and why people are so adamant about not touching her until she's actually needed. So this has been Chocolate. I hope you found this interesting or informative, and if you have any feedback for me, I'd be glad to hear it. So have a nice day and goodbye.